Hello, my name is Abel. I'm one of the associate pastors here at Junction Community Church, and I just want to give you a short encouragement story. Um, and it's kind of based out of the story of Jeremiah, chapter 18, verses 1 through 6. And it's just about a story about a teacup. And so let me just read really quickly in Jeremiah. It says, "The word which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I shall announce my words to you. Then I went down to the potter's house, and there he was making something on the wheel. But the vessel that he was making of clay was spoiled in the hand of the potter. So he remade it into another vessel, as it pleased the potter to make. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Can I not, O house of Israel, deal with you as the potter does, declares the Lord. Behold, like the clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel." And that's Jeremiah 18, verses 1 through 6. And so this story that I want to share with you, it's just a really short story about a teacup, just like this. And there was a couple who used to shop around in England, and they used to like to go to a bunch of antique shops, and so they ended up going to one of the antique shops, and they seen a very beautiful teacup up on the shelf, and they asked the attendant to if they could see it. So one day, as they were shopping, and they asked the attendant for it, the attendant grabbed the teacup and they pulled it down from the shelf, and they gave it to the couple. As the lady handed it to them, the cup suddenly spoke and says, "You don't understand. I haven't always been a teacup. There was a time when I was red and I was clay. My master took me and rolled me and patted me over and over, and I yelled, 'Leave me alone.' But he only smiled, 'Not yet.' Then I was placed on a spinning wheel. And suddenly I was spun around and around and around, making me so dizzy that I yelled and I said, 'Stop it! Leave me alone!' But the master only nodded and he said, 'Not yet.' Then he put me in the oven. I've never felt so much heat. I wonder why he wanted to burn me. And I yelled and I knocked at the door, and I could see him through the opening, and I could read his lips, and as he shook his head, 'Not yet.' Finally, the door opened. He put me on the shelf, and I began to cool. 'There, that's better,' I said. Then he brushed and painted me all over. The fumes were horrible, I thought, and I would gag. 'Stop it, just leave me alone.' He nodded. 'Not yet.' Then he suddenly put me back into the oven, not like the first time, but this time twice as hot. I thought I was going to suffocate, and I begged and I pleaded and I screamed. All I can see him through the door, and he said, 'Not yet.' Then I knew there wasn't any hope. I would never make it. I was ready to give up, but the door opened and he took me out and placed me on the shelf. 1 hour later, he handed me a mirror and he said, 'Look at yourself.' And I did, and I couldn't believe it. I said, 'That's not me. That couldn't be me. I'm beautiful.' 'I want you to remember,' he said, 'I know it hurts to be rolled and patted, but if I had left you alone, you'd be dried up. I know it made you dizzy to be spun around on the wheel, but if I had stopped, you would have crumbled. I knew it hurt and was hot and disagreeable in the oven, but if I hadn't put you there, you would have cracked. I know the fumes were bad when I brushed you and I painted you, but if I hadn't done that, you would have hardened. You would have never been able to harden, and you would have not had any color in your life. And if I hadn't put you back in the oven the second time, you wouldn't have survived for a very long time because the hardness would not have held. Now you are finished product. You are what I had in mind when I first began with you." And so I just want to encourage you with this, that God knows what he's doing for all of us. He is the potter and we are his clay. He will mold us and he will make us so that we may be made flawless, a piece of work to fulfill His good and pleasing and perfect will. And so may this teacup just be a small reminder of what God can do in our lives. And if we just yield ourselves to Him who is the potter, He can do great, amazing things through us because of His glory.